The Assad family's iron-fisted rule over Syria, lasting more than 50 years, has come to an end. Bashar al-Assad succeeded his father Hafez in 2000 and continued the authoritarian regime. In 2011, Assad's brutal suppression of a peaceful, pro-democracy uprising led to a devastating civil war that killed over 500,000 people and displaced 12 million. For years, the war appeared to be at a stalemate. Assad, with support from Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah, reclaimed major cities and established control over much of Syria. However, rebel forces continued to hold significant strongholds, particularly in the northwest, in Aleppo and Idlib provinces, where millions of Syrians lived, including many displaced persons. The area was dominated by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an Islamist group that had grown out of the al-Nusra Front, which initially aligned with al-Qaeda before rebranding in 2016. Despite this shift, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham remains a designated terrorist organization, and its leader, Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, has a $10 million bounty on his capture. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham had maintained its power by suppressing rivals, including Islamic State cells and al-Qaeda factions, and administering areas through the Syrian Salvation Government, which followed a strict interpretation of Islamic law. In late November 2023, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and allied rebel factions launched a surprise offensive, citing government and Iranian-backed militia escalations as their justification. On November 27th, the rebels swiftly captured Aleppo, facing little resistance as government forces withdrew. This success set the stage for further advances. On December 2nd, Homs fell, and by December 3rd, Damascus was overrun as rebels freed prisoners from Saydnaya prison and declared Assad had fled. Prime Minister Mohammed al-Jalali announced he was ready to work with any leadership chosen by the people, while Hayat Tahrir al-Sham promised to create a unified government representing all sects and social classes. The collapse was accelerated by Assad's weakened support. Years of war, economic sanctions, and corruption had depleted the military's strength. Russia, preoccupied with the war in Ukraine, had scaled back its involvement, and Iran's position was weakened by Israeli airstrikes on its positions in Lebanon and Syria, disrupting supply lines. Hezbollah, a vital Assad ally, suffered heavy losses, further undermining the regime's defenses. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported at least 910 deaths during the offensive, including 138 civilians. Despite Assad's pledge to resist, the rebels pushed forward, aided by widespread discontent with his rule. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham leader al-Jawlani instructed his fighters not to take government buildings, ensuring they would stay under the authority of the prime minister until an official transfer of power occurred. The international response varied. Russia expressed concern over the situation and called for a political solution, but reassured that its military bases were not under immediate threat. Iran urged dialogue and a halt to violence, emphasizing unity. Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan highlighted that Syria's future must be decided by its people and stressed the need for inclusivity to avoid chaos. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed that Israel's strikes on Iranian and Hezbollah targets weakened Assad, leading to his downfall. Israel temporarily took control of Syrian military positions in the Golan Heights, citing the collapse of a 1974 ceasefire due to Syrian troop withdrawals. The U.S. expressed deep concern and said it was monitoring the situation closely, consulting regional partners for potential responses. Iraq, which had sent militias to aid Assad during the war, called for a constitutional dialogue to ensure human rights. Jordan, which had supported rebels early on, expressed respect for the Syrian people's will and stressed stability to avoid chaos. The EU welcomed Assad's fall as a positive development and reaffirmed its commitment to regional security. The end of Assad's rule marks a significant turning point in Syria's decade-long war. The fall of a regime once supported by powerful allies and military might offers hope for a new beginning, though the future remains uncertain. The promises of unity and inclusion face formidable challenges from fractured alliances, regional rivalries, and the harsh realities of a country in ruins. The world watches closely, hoping for peace and stability in a region that has endured so much suffering.